Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. Right now you cannot see me because this is an audio only podcast. Ta-da! Surprise! I'm doing this because this is the first of what you may see more of in the future. It's a media exchange. And I would like to welcome Ishu to my podcast, who's himself a podcaster based out of Canada. How you doing?
I'm good, Joe. Thank you for inviting me here.
It's totally my pleasure. We may add to our audience that I appear on your podcast and you appear on my podcast. And we thought, since you're based in Canada and I'm based in Germany, we talk about the specific countries. Where you actually located?
I am in Toronto, Canada.
Very nice. My understanding is it's the southern part of Canada, but you should still own a lot of warm socks, right?
True. It's pretty cold out here. When it comes to winter, it's damn cold. Minus 35, minus 40. Yeah.
Like in Celsius or in Fahrenheit?
In Celsius.
Ooh. Oh, dang it. Okay, we are talking about Canada because many people, when they're expanding to North America, it's just bam, either New York City or San Francisco, even though there are a lot of very interesting cities between those two cities where you could expand, where you could consider headquartering in, but also Canada, it's a G7 nation. And it's also an interesting market for, I would assume, a lot of startups who are further down the road in internationalization. So we've been thinking to talk a little bit about this respective startup hubs there. And my understanding is the biggest cities are Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, not necessarily in this order. Is that true?
Yeah, these three are the main ones. Toronto is the biggest when it comes to money in Canada. We call this as a financial hub. So we have a financial district in Toronto downtown as well. So city itself is divided into different categories, or different sections. One is having fashion district. There is a financial district. So within a Toronto downtown, you will see a lot of hubs of maybe banks or corporate companies having their headquarters there. So yeah, the biggest one is the Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. Yep.
And what actually is going on there in terms of startups? Because many people just wouldn't know even one startup from Canada. But when I've been preparing, I found that Hootsuite, Shopify, Slack, 500px, and Kik are just some of the Canadian-based or original Canadian startups.
True. And there are many, in terms of stats, I was going through the stats. Statista is the website. I got to know from there that in 2017, there were approximately 2,700 startups in 2017. So now it's 2020, so you can imagine the number would have increased. Another website is saying that in Canada, we have 3.5 million entrepreneurs, around that number. So you can just imagine what are people thinking in terms of developing the nation here. The population wise, this country is not that big in terms of population. That's why I think the people who are coming from different parts of the world are having different kind of mindset, that in order to establish Canada and in order to establish themselves, there is a lot of opportunity because it's very close to US. You don't need to be in US and spend a little bit more money in terms of salaries and all those kind of things. Here, you will get everything that you will get in Silicon Valley or in all over the US. In terms of venture capitalists or the investment banks or the people who are ready to do investments, the scenario is a little bit different here in terms of that. because the mindset here in Canada for the mindset of the investors is a little bit different. I would say a little bit conservative. They want to see the numbers first. Like, are you generating any kind of revenue or not? If yes, how much? They don't go with the vision. Like you are into this market and you will be tackling, or you will be handling this bigger market of 500 million or $1 billion in US. That's a scenario. Like they talk about the numbers, they talk about the vision. They don't care much about, yes, they care, but they don't care much about what you're making now. If you have a proven track record in Canada, if you have proven track record or unproven, they go with the more conservative approach.
I see. What kind of startups would you recommend to visit which places? Because my understanding is Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, they have distinct industries there, as well as distinct cultures, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Vancouver was kind of strong purely on the tech side. Like tech companies, when I talk about tech, that means I'm talking about software purely. In Toronto, now the pace is, I would say, a little bit faster than Vancouver. There are many companies in Toronto as well, which are coming up really, really fast. There is Bonsai, there is Blue Dot. Blue Dot is the company who kind of predicted about the COVID even even before anyone was ready to hear that news. So they have their AI engines running continuously. So that is a company who's collecting the data from hospitals all over the world and things like that, and they run their predictive analysis. And they were the first ones who came to know that some kind of disease like this is coming up. So yeah, so there are many companies like that in Toronto, and Toronto is going very, very strong. In Toronto itself, like we have, because in this Toronto area, or I would say Canada, we have divided. We are divided into different sections. That means there is a federal law, there is a federal level laws, there is a province as well. So when it comes to Toronto specifically, like there is a Mars Discovery District. As I was telling you before, there are subsections within Toronto down where you will be able to see a lot of stuff. So in Toronto downtown, we have Mars Discovery District. Some people call of companies, startups, like they have the halls where each hall or each room means you are talking about one company. So there are a lot of companies within Mars Discovery District itself, and they are doing. Mars Discovery District is not only about the office space, or they're not only giving the office space. It is a non-profit investment. They provide you non-profit investment support as well. Like they have raised billions of dollars and things like that, and companies are going really, really well there. Yeah, so this is how the things are working here. There is city level support as well. So I'm living in a little bit out of the suburbs of Toronto. So in here, my city name is Brampton. So here we have support from Brampton itself. Then we have support from Toronto downtown. If you go to Mississauga, that is a smaller city next to where I'm living right now, they have their own support system. They have their own government bodies that can help you in grant programs. That can help you in developing the business plans. Whatever support you are thinking of having, we have the systems everywhere in citywide, federal level, province-wise. We have the complete support system here.
Let us go. Of course, we will link down here in the show notes the Mars Discovery District. Let us go a little bit into the French-speaking area, Montreal. Historically, the area was first settled by French immigrants, and that's why you still have a French-speaking population there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. you need to know French if you want to get comfortable there. People know English language there, but still there is a lot of population who is more comfortable with French. Yeah.
It,
Mhm.
and what kind of startups, what kind of areas active in Montreal?
Montreal is also coming up with a lot of tech companies again. Tech software is all over Canada. Like it's first was it was in Vancouver mostly, and then came to Toronto, or it was in Toronto. Some people will say that it was in Toronto, then it went to Vancouver, vice versa. But now it's going to Montreal as well. It's going to other cities like Calgary. I interviewed a guest a couple of days back from Winnipeg. That is a small city, and they are running a $1 million startup there. So you can imagine, like, it's all about software. That is what is happening right now. Talk about AI, like artificial intelligence stuff, robotics. Waterloo is a city in Toronto, nearby Toronto. So it's full of robotic companies, software companies, because there are many companies around, many bigger companies around that area as well, like Google and other bigger companies. So you can just imagine that is becoming more so of like a hub of when it comes to software. Vancouver is also having same kind of uh, area, I would say, division, but the main focus there is also going towards the software companies.
Vancouver may surprise many listeners here, but actually that's very logical if you just look at the geographical location, because it's very close to Seattle, with Microsoft and Amazon headquartered there. So that makes sense that also people from there go over the border and start the business there, because they are originally from Canada or they like it more there. And so that's where you have very fast, like a spread of entrepreneurship from one city to another. Montreal and Toronto are not really too far from each other, and they're also a little bit closer to the area of, let's say, Chicago and Detroit, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Montreal and the Toronto is having distance by road, I would say 7 hour, approximately 6-7 hours by road. So we are having trains as well, so for smoother ride. But again, like COVID is happening, so if you want to prefer your own car, your own vehicle, so then 7.5 hours is the distance. Detroit is nearby Toronto area. It's again going to be around, I would say, 4 hours of drive approximately.
And I just realized, because I'm consulting Google Maps here at the same time, that it takes approximately 8 hours from Toronto to New York City, which is actually not too bad, but I assume only under very, very good circumstances you can actually achieve that.
True. There's a lot of traffic here. So yeah, that's ideal situation, but traffic, just you can increase it by 1.5 times sometimes.
Only 1.5. Ha.
Yeah.
Going a little bit into the area where you really need warm socks, Calgary. Maybe some people remember it from the Winter Olympics that are as old as me. There's also some startup activity there, right? But they're more known for like fossil fuel area, mining businesses before.
True. That area is having mines, like nearby. Like it's having like petroleum, like mostly related with fossil fuels. You're right on point there, and getting into those industries for startups is really hard. Like only you will find bigger giants working in that area. But if there are some companies, there will be, or there are some companies, I'm not getting the names right in my head right now, but there are some companies, startup companies, who are selling the software to these bigger companies. But there you will find mostly people living there, whosoever is working in the mines or the fossil fuel industry. We have many big companies there. dealing with the fossil fuels. Yep.
And apparently you need it because we're recording this on November 11th, 2020. And I just checked the weather in Calgary and it's minus 11 degrees Celsius and it's already daylight.
Yeah, that area gets really cold compared to Toronto.
Well, compared to Frankfurt, already Toronto is very cold, but I do believe if you get used to it and if you dress properly, that's also something you can actually live with if you do have a high standard of living that I assume you actually do have in Canada. Everybody who'd like to learn a little bit more about Canada, are there some websites, some NGOs, some government entities, some places besides your podcast? We'll also talk a little bit about it at the end in a few minutes, where people could learn more about the startup scene in Canada.
Yeah, so Mars DD is the one. And if the first thing is, if you want to specifically target any particular province, Google with that name. Most probably Canada's own website is going to come on the top, because if you're searching how to set up a company, Canada's own website, canada.ca, is going to come up there. And there you will be able to find out how to set up the company, because there are many structures here. You want to set up a corporation, you want to set up a sole proprietorship, or you want to go with the partnership firm. So there are many means around that. You want to do a name search of your business. So Canada's own website is having those kind of tools available. And it's a step-by-step instruction guide, like how much fee it will take for setting up particular type of company. So you will see a lot of structural instruction there already provided. But if you will go to citywide, like as I mentioned the name Brampton, so that's not Toronto, that is not Canada itself. Like you're going very specific. You can write how to start a company in Brampton. So most possibly the website that you will see is gonna be from Brampton itself. And the support system from each city is so strong, like free of cost information is there. So there was one program, I forgot the exact name, but it was Startup Canada or something like that, or Starter Company Plus was the name, that almost every small city was running in Ontario itself. It was in Brampton, it was in Mississauga. There's one more small city, Vaughan. These are the names that I was familiar that these all cities were running a program. So where they were giving $5,000, like it's without any loan. It's just $5,000, your money. Take the money, build something meaningful, and help the community. So there are many support systems like that. Of course, they were not giving like $5,000 without any kind of effort from your side. But of course, if government is providing you support, so it's the person's responsibility to fulfill the requirement, and money was there if you really want it. So there are many websites. There are going to be many individual blogger website. Statista.com is going to help you to find out the stats about Canada. And there are many other websites, but I would say the legit and legal information can be taken from individual city website or the Canada's own website as well.
So now that we have the Canada part out of the way, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're actually doing, and of course about your podcast.
Yeah. So I have my own podcast, Starting to Know Business. I started this podcast with a vision that I will be inviting a lot of visionaries, entrepreneurs, founders, if you would say, and the companies, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not restrained to any particular area. I'm inviting guests from US, Canada, all parts of the world. So it's just like I wanted to create a community so that everybody can learn from each other, and it's not going to be only one person talking, throwing the knowledge out there, because there are many podcasts already there, and it's just like my way of giving it back to the community, so that the knowledge that I have, I will be asking the questions to the leaders, so that we will get interesting answers, so that people won't commit the mistake if they want to run a business, if they want to start a business, if they want to grow a business. If I can ask the question to the person before someone makes that mistake, and that person will be able to get rid of that $1,000 mistake or $5,000 mistake. So my vision was that, like, okay, I want to use my expertise to ask the questions to the relevant people, and that's what I'm doing. So my podcast name is Starting to Know Business, and it's starting to know, not about purely about like we are just starting to know, like, because we think that we already know everything about business. That's why I said Starting to Know is going to be the name, because we are always starting to know about something. We never can know anything in its own entirety. We cannot say that we know everything about marketing, because it's evolving. Like, it's evolving every single day, every single month. So that is why we are always starting to know. So that's how my name came in. Yeah.
And privately, you're also working in software, right?
Yep. I am working in the software industry from approximately last 16 years. Currently running 2 products, Scabus, and another one is Install. So Install is basically my baby. Like, I want to focus on that entirely. I'm coming up with few more products in different industries, but Install is kind of a replacement of hard copy digital manuals, hard copy user manuals, and warranty cards. So it's a digitization of user manuals and warranty cards, basically less wastage of paper and saving for the companies.
I will, as always, provide down here in the show notes lots of links, including like the official website of Canada, the respective country websites, a few more blog posts, as well as, of course, your personal LinkedIn profile, so people can reach out to you directly and ask more questions about warm socks and what is Tim Hortons.
Okay, for sure. Tim Hortons, for sure.
I actually, admittedly, I've been several times to the US, but I've never been to Canada, even though I have relatives somewhere there. But it's on my to-do list, but maybe not in the winter.
Yeah, summer is going to be the best time. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It was just a pleasure having you here, and best of luck, and hope to have you back.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.